You know what really surprised me after 60? It wasn't the silver strands or the fine lines. It was how my face began to shift. My cheeks weren't as full. My jawline softened. And suddenly, the haircut I'd trusted for years just didn't sit right anymore. It still looked fine on paper, but in the mirror, something felt off. Like my hair had stopped working with me and started just hanging there. Maybe you felt that too. You haven't changed your cut, but somehow, it's not helping your features anymore. That's exactly what happened to me. Until one day, my stylist suggested something I hadn't considered in decades. A soft, face-framing layer, placed with just a little more intention. I wasn't expecting magic, but what I saw in the mirror surprised me. It wasn't just my hair that looked better. My eyes looked brighter. My cheeks looked lifted. And for the first time in a long while, I looked like me again. No needles, no drama, just one thoughtful change. And everything shifted. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. Because when done right, face-framing layers don't just flatter your hair. They lift your whole face in the quietest, most natural way. I'll show you the exact placement that creates that soft upward pull without harsh angles or heavy styling. We'll cover the two common mistakes that make women look older even with layers. And in part 5, I'll share the one tweak stylists rarely mention. But once I tried it, it made me look like I'd just slept for a week. So if you've ever caught your reflection and thought, why does my hair make me look more tired than I feel? Stay with me, because this might be the cut that changes everything. Not loudly, not suddenly, but gently, beautifully, and maybe even 10 years younger. After 60, it's not just our hair that changes, our faces do too. Fullness shifts, jawlines soften. You start to notice little hollows near the temples, or a bit of sagging below the cheeks. It's subtle, but it changes everything. And suddenly, the haircut you trusted for years isn't doing you any favors. That's where face-framing layers come in. They're not just for style. They're about restoring balance, because when your face starts to shift, your hair needs to shift with it. When placed with care, these layers draw the eye upward toward the cheekbones, the eyes, helping your haircut support your features, not fight against them. It's a quiet kind of lift, a redirection, not about chasing youth, just reclaiming softness, movement, and the feeling of being seen again. Because what we want now isn't trendy, it's timeless. Hair that moves with us, with grace, ease, and quiet confidence. And if you're wondering how these layers actually work their magic, that's exactly what we're going into next. So how do layers actually lift the face? It's all about placement, where they begin, where they fall, and how they move with your features. That's what makes the difference between a cut that flatters and one that unintentionally weighs you down. When layers begin just below the temples and slope gently past the cheekbones, they guide the eye upward, almost like a visual lift for your whole face. Not dramatic, not obvious, just enough for you to glance in the mirror and think, ah, that feels like me again. I often call these jawline lifting haircuts, not because they touch the jawline, but because they gently frame around it. Here's why that matters. If layers end right at the jowls or chin, they tend to highlight exactly what we'd rather soften. But when they fall just above or just below that zone, they create space. They add movement, not heaviness. And there's a practical detail many overlook. If you wear glasses or hearing aids, soft layers behind the ear can give volume without bulk, keeping the look elegant and easy to wear. So the next time you're at the salon, you don't need anything drastic. You can simply say, I'd love soft, face-framing layers that lift the cheekbones and soften the jawline. That one sentence, it can quietly change everything. And it's not just about structure, because what comes next is something even more powerful. The the way hair plays with light and shadow, and how that changes how people see you. Hair isn't just about length or layers. It's one of the most powerful tools we have for shaping perception, quietly shifting how our features are seen. Take the temples, for example. As we age, they can start to hollow, creating shadows that make the whole face look more tired. But when you place soft, face-framing layers near the temples, it brings fullness back, and suddenly the face feels more rested, even before makeup. Then there are the cheekbones. When layers curve just beneath them, they pull attention upward, lifting the eye away from the lower half of the face, toward the parts that still glow with life. And for women who wear their hair a bit longer, a touch of layering near the collarbone can gently draw attention away from the neck or chest, especially if those areas are starting to feel a little more sensitive. It's not dramatic, not obvious, but the shift it creates in how you carry yourself, that's real. And here's one more trick stylists rarely talk about: shadow volume. Longer hidden layers placed behind the crown or around the ears. They give your hair quiet lift and shape without any styling product. No teasing, no mousse, just thoughtful structure that builds confidence from the inside out. But here's the thing. Even the smartest cut can backfire if you're unknowingly doing a few things that add years instead of lightness. Let's talk about those next. Even the right idea, like, I just want some volume, or let's clean up the shape, can go wrong if the cut works against your features, not with them. One of the most common missteps, overlayering at the crown. It sounds like a good solution for fine or thinning hair, but when the layers are too short or too stacked, they collapse the crown and make the top of the head look flat, while the back looks puffy and disconnected. It pulls the whole shape downward, the exact opposite of what you want. Another mistake? Overly blunt cuts. They look sleek on a page, but on a soft, evolving face, a harsh horizontal line, especially near the jaw or mouth, can make everything feel heavier and more rigid. What we want at this stage isn't sharpness, it's softness, movement, shape that flows with the face, not against it. And that kind of haircut, it doesn't require a dramatic change, just smarter choices. So what actually works? What kinds of cuts quietly lift and open the face, without shouting, without overcompensating? That's what we're exploring next. One of my favorites, what I call the cheekbone trick. It's when layers are angled slightly upward, from the jaw toward the cheekbones. Not dramatic, not sharp, but it creates a soft frame that gently lifts the center of the face, like your features are being supported from underneath. Then there's face-framing bangs. Not heavy full bangs, just a light parted curtain. They soften the forehead, draw focus to the eyes, and they're especially flattering if your hair's thinning slightly in the front. And for longer styles, ask your stylist to add subtle layers near the collarbone. They help balance proportions and shift attention away from the neck or upper chest, especially if those areas are starting to feel more sensitive. Want built-in volume without teasing or mousse? Try shadow layers behind the crown or just around the ears. They create quiet lift and movement, giving your whole shape softness without bulk. And if you've ever sat in the salon chair unsure what to say, try this one line. I'd love soft, face-framing layers that lift the cheekbones, soften the jawline, and bring light around my eyes without going too short. Simple, precise, empowering. Because sometimes it's not just about how your hair looks, it's about how it makes you feel. Lighter, softer, and more yourself than you've felt in years. Let's be honest, getting older brings changes we don't always talk about, not just on the outside, but in how we see ourselves. You still feel sharp, warm, full of life, but sometimes your reflection doesn't match that energy. And that's not about vanity. That's just about wanting to feel like you again. What surprised me most wasn't how the cut looked. It was how it made me feel. Like someone had quietly handed me back a little piece of myself. It wasn't a makeover. It wasn't a reinvention. Just a small shift that helped me show up in the world feeling more honest, more open, more me. There's something powerful about finding a style that fits who you are now. Not the version of you from 20 years ago, but the version who's grown, softened, deepened. We don't need sharp lines or big changes. We need softness, lightness, and maybe just one intentional layer that brings it all into balance again. And if you've ever felt like your hair was making you disappear, maybe it's time for a cut that lets you feel seen again. Because this isn't just about how you look. It's about how you carry yourself and how you want the world to see you, with quiet strength and beauty that hasn't gone anywhere. If your reflection hasn't quite felt like you lately, if you've caught yourself thinking, why does my hair feel like it's working against me? I hope today gave you something gentle, not a makeover, not a rule book, just a few quiet reminders. That softness is still possible, that lift can come from small, intentional choices, and that you deserve to feel beautiful exactly as you are. Because face-framing layers, they're not just a haircut, they're a way of saying, I see myself again. And if even one idea today made you think, maybe I'll try that, then I'm truly glad you're here. This space is for women who don't want to chase youth, but want to honor who they are right now with lightness and grace. So tell me, which part of today's video spoke to you most? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. And until next time, let's keep lifting gently and together.